welcome everybody to the March 3rd, 2025 workshop meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, there's no public here. Our first order of business at the regular meeting will be a 30 years of service resolution for Joseph Loschiavo, Jr. Anyone in particular want to take that? Okay. Thank you. And then a 20-year service resolution for Jonathan Monahan. Okay, I'll take that. Okay, so then nothing to discuss on these. Anything under administration that's not on the agenda?
No.
Thank you. Anything under, well, let's see, first under police and fire safety.
So we'll have
We
a,
have the paperwork.
yeah, we'll have a resolution. I still don't have that from our coordinator from the state yet. I'm hoping to have that in front of you by the end of this week.
All right, so if we
It should be
have
very
it,
similar to what you've passed previously. It's an
Okay.
updated resolution. This will be the third time you're looking at the resolution. Just some things have changed. Since it's related to the RCAP grant, we're finding that the RCAP grant is a challenge to manage. We're working with our state-appointed coordinator to cross our Ts and dot our Is.
okay, and Alex, will y'all want to take a look at that before we?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be pretty standard and we won't have any changes to it, but we're happy to review it as soon as Matt gets it in.
Okay, and so that'll be read by solicitor?
It can be anyone. They're generally
Because it's
pretty
just a
short.
resolution.
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone want to take that one?
I can.
Okay, Kristen, thank you.
If you don't want it, you can give it to Mike. I'll volunteer him since he'll be here.
You can decide when we get it.
Yeah.
Decide when you get it.
I'll know him. It's you.
I always decide on how bad it's going to make my accent sound. That's how I decide what I'm going to take and not take. Like, I hate doing the snow announcement with all the viewers walking in it. Oh, yeah. Anything else, Chief, under police?
I did want to just update council real quick. Our social services liaison, that Lincoln Center is still interviewing people. So I talked with the heads there and said that this is way overdue. So we came to an agreement where the supervisor is going to fill in until they actually get a counselor. And the supervisor also has the same degrees and so forth and has done this before. So starting Monday, March 10th, doing the 24 hours a week, we will have somebody in place and we'll start visiting the shelter, we'll start visiting any of the places where people might be able to use those services. So I just wanted you to know that that will be up and running. And also just to let you know that Chris and I have been working together on this Harmonville Plymouth ambulance issue, and Chris has finished doing all the signs that have to go up. We're waiting for Higgins to come, where they're going to make some repairs on the lights because they have the bucket trucks. They'll put those new signs up, and we're working with Harmonville, Plymouth Ambulance, the traffic engineer. I think what they said was more conducive to what they needed instead of the intersections being changed, because then their volunteers could get there if they made them red for them to get out. We're going to try and coordinate in the middle with those two signs that they already have up there. So that's going through the process. So the traffic engineer might have to talk to PennDOT a little bit more. Still should be able to use the existing permit, but it's just taking a little bit, but we're fine-tuning it to exactly what they need. But it's moving along.
So there won't be the receiver that when they,
There will be something there, but it's going to hit those, instead of the intersections, it's going to activate those lights.
Oh, I
And we're
see.
putting signs up to say, once those red lights are activated, you must stop for emergency vehicles. So it'll be a little bit closer to where they are, but it won't impede their people trying to get to the station.
makes sense, thanks.
So that, Chief, that changes those lights from currently they would flash yellow, but now they'll turn red to stop traffic. Is that the difference?
They will, and I'm not sure, I know that there was talk about it, I don't know that they can just flash red or they have to be solid red. There's certain regulations in PennDOT, but we're making sure that it meets those regulations, and I think we're going to have some extra signage to warn people, you're coming to that area, you must stop for red light, emergency vehicle exiting. And we'll do some, education there, we'll do some stops, we'll put it on Facebook when all that stuff gets put up. So it's moving along.
It sounds like a good use of an existing system versus doing something new or different. Like,
Yeah.
it sounds like a great first step
So,
to solving. Yeah, thank
that's
you.
all I have, thank you.
Terrific. What's happening? All right, Public Works and Sewer. We have first discussion, is this for tonight, the Plymouth Meeting Park?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we've got two separate sidewalk issues. Wanted to combine them under a general sidewalk discussion tonight. First,
More than two.
on the agenda tonight.
On the agenda.
All right, certainly, we can find some more. Plymouth Meeting Park, that is the development behind, Plymouth Elementary? Is that it?
Ridge Park.
Ridge Park, thank you. New guy alert. Where there were some plans that had been found and circulated to the solicitor showing an easement or vacant space between these houses. These are sidewalks that go between houses, not the sidewalks that go in front of houses. This was the group of folks, of residents who came in at the last business meeting and raised some concerns. And so I'm going to see if Alex has any information that he could share with us regarding their assessment.
Yes, we believe that the sidewalks were never dedicated to the township, and therefore they are the responsibility of the homeowners adjacent to them. That on the plan itself, that is clear that it is listed as a 20-foot wide easement, with the then sidewalks being constructed at some point after the plan was recorded in the 1950s, and that we're just still reviewing all of the property owners' recorder of deeds information to make sure that there's nothing to the contrary, but we continue to believe, after reviewing the plan and reviewing some of the public records, that the responsibility of maintaining those sidewalks fall on the four adjacent neighbors that own it between Rainer and Black Hill Road.
So you said it was a 20-foot wide easement?
Yes.
But they just have to keep up the walkway, which is definitely not 20 feet wide. So just making sure that is all they're required to do with that easement, or is there something else that they, are they not allowed to plant things in that area or do things in that area?
So generally, as long as it doesn't impact people walking on the sidewalk, but then they're free to they have the responsibility of maintaining it, but they can't cause anyone from not being able to access the area or walk through it. And they can't put up barriers or anything that's going to prevent people from walking. And that would default to our sidewalk ordinance, which provides for how long you need to shovel after snow and what you're supposed to do to maintain it.
So should our guidance to the neighbors be, because I know it's kind of awkward that I actually own half of the sidewalk and you own the other half, just be that, we could share this information, but also suggest that they just work it out. Come up with an arrangement with your neighbor, I'll shovel the first snowfall, you shovel the second, or, is there some other way we should help them manage that, or at least suggest that they manage it, or
I
is it
think just
something
suggesting it, that, you're both going to be jointly responsible as it falls between your properties.
And you can work it out. Maybe one of them is an 80-year-old with limited mobility, and the other one is 35 and
And it seems
works
of
out
the-
at the community center.
Of the four, one had a recent transfer in 2024, but it looks like it was an interfamily transfer, so going to a family or a son or father to son or grandfather to child. But all the others have lived there for quite some time.
We had mentioned that we wanted to send something out to everybody who lived along those walkways. It'd be good to include what we were just talking about, the suggestion to work with neighbors in that document.
Which they've been doing.
Yeah,
for-
it sounds like they've been doing it.
decades.
Yeah.
It's just more recently become an issue, I
Do
think.
you want our office to put something together for council review, or do you want Matt to do it? I just want to make sure we know who's going to be drafting
Sure,
it.
yeah, I'm not sure who's the best to draft it.
I mean, Matt, I'd leave it up to you, like if it
Yeah.
makes sense, if you want to draft it, or if you want Alex to.
I work in coordination with
You'll
Alex
let
and
me
his
know if
team.
you want us to.
How about that?
That would be great.
Maybe take a start, and then we can work together to make sure hits all of his legal requirements.
And we'll obviously provide copies of those. I keep on wanting to double check, like 1957-ish recorded plans that clearly shows that 20-foot wide easement. So I don't know if everyone saw this, but I can just pass this around. That the area right here clearly shows that walkway.
Okay. Thank you.
There currently is 4 sections. Is that accurate? I think one section was closed off at Ridge, I think it was at Blue Ridge, kind of Blue Ridge to Rainier.
Blue Ridge to Rainier, or is it Blue Ridge back to Yellowstone?
It was right after, like, around 2014, I think they closed it off.
Oh, really?
Stockade fence up, and took them out.
And where did that leave?
It went, so right now it goes from Shasta to Boulder, Boulder to Black Hill to Rainier. And I thought that it went from Rainier.
It goes from Blue Ridge to Yellowstone, right where Rainier and Blue Ridge meet. So, yeah, I think that's what you're talking about, right?
And does that have to remain unobstructed, or is it not really something the public uses?
Yeah, and I've never had a complaint about it, so.
It's open. Yeah. In fact, whoever owns one of the properties there has created a little, like, attachment to it that you can walk 2 different ways onto the sidewalk. It's really nice.
There's actually 2 more that go to Meeting Park on Boulder. What comes off of Butler Pike there? Is that Boulder?
Shasta.
Blue Ridge and,
There's one at Blue Ridge and one at one that comes off at Germantown that comes up along the backside of the park.
Sierra.
Right behind the Friends School?
Yeah, so there's 2, I don't know if they're, but their access to that Plymouth Meeting Park, that's basically landlocked.
Okay.
There's 2 easements there.
Yeah, and the one on Shasta is very clear.
One on Shasta we got a call about because someone just bought that house there and they want to put a fence up, so we told them they couldn't put the fence in the easement.
Correct, they could be close to the boundary, but there's also the 20-foot wide, so they can't be within it.
And then, did you say Blue Ridge or Boulder comes off of?
Blue Ridge comes off of Butler.
Yeah, Blue Ridge, there's one, it's only a few houses down off of Butler. Yeah. I don't want to muddy the water, but there are 2
Well,
others.
yeah, we could sell it. I guess it was an alternative to some other complete sidewalks in the 50s.
Yeah, that's how, we don't, the Friends School leases that off of us, so they maintain it right now, but that's how we used to enter the lowest, is off of Blue Ridge.
There's also one that leads, I don't know, this might be what you're talking about, the one that leads from Sierra to is that the park that you're telling, behind the fire station?
Not by the fire station, it's behind those houses on the Sierra. It's like landlocked from Meeting House, the Friends School, and Sierra. We own it's an open space, but it's.
Is it not the area right behind the firehouse, Harmonville?
This is further down behind.
This is-
the
There is a walkway that leads to that.
Yes.
That used to be a school there where the firehouse is. That was Plymouth Consolidated School. So that's probably where those walkways go to. I don't think Ridge Park was there then. But this is it's a landlocked piece of property from Meeting House, Germantown Pike, to Friends School, and Sierra.
I suppose we probably want to reach out to everybody who lives on those ones as well. Cover all the bases.
I'll want to just double check each of those addresses and make sure that we're have the same issue, or the same same answer, and that there's nothing that is different in any of the other sections of the recorded plans, and that I wouldn't envision being a difference. I thought they would all be the same 20-foot wide easement, but I want to confirm before we give an answer.
Continue.
Okay.
And then Ridge Pike, the infamous missing link of the Ridge Pike redo, where there are no improvements. From my sources at the county, the right-of-way is already maximized at that point, and the right-of-ways that are in that missing link are also occupied and owned by PECO and/or PennDOT, which makes our lives that much more complicated in that it's not easy for us to compel them to install those sidewalks.
I think that was just the added information for me this time around, was that I have a constituent who says that there are multiple constituents in my ward that live up in the Cardinal View area that would really like there to be sidewalks in where that jug handle used to be on Ridge. And they see the Montgomery County project to update Ridge as this way that we could do that, or somebody should be doing that. And it's disheartening to have to tell them that they're not, there's no part in their plan to do that, and it looks like we wouldn't even be able to, if we wanted to, force anybody to put these sidewalks in.
Was owned by
Absent
PennDOT.
eminent domain, but
Yeah,
it
right.
wouldn't be in the right of way because the right was being completely used, so it would have to be on the private property.
And how would that work with a state agency, eminent domain over their property?
We would probably be going on further back because the utilities are probably going to be there, if I heard Matt correctly. So we would have to be further back onto the main part of the property.
Okay, yeah. But I just wanted to bring it up again because he's been sending me a lot of emails, and he was bringing up options, one of which was our ordinance that says that we can compel people to build sidewalks on their property. And I just figured, you know what, I'll bring it up to council, but there's no guarantee. Obviously, I had already told him that it was dubious and probably not going to get support.
We
so-
can't compel PennDOT
Right.
or PECO, right? Or PECO on the other side, the Conocelli side.
Yeah.
It's not even a matter of if we, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not a matter of like, if we really, really wanted to, we could compel them. Like, we can't compel them. We can't force them to put sidewalks in, either PennDOT or PECO. Is that true?
That would be generally accurate. That it would be extremely difficult to get those agencies to do sidewalks.
And then who maintains them?
Well, under our ordinance, it's the property owner.
Yeah, so you think PennDOT's going to come out and shovel sidewalks when it snows?
That's part of the reason why they wouldn't do it voluntarily when we asked, is the liability and
And the liability.
who's going to take care of it, maintenance.
So does that close the loop on that for you? Like, is there anything else we need to
I
do
hope
to
it does.
officially close the loop on this?
I'll be giving him this information, I've given most of this information to him already. It's just, it's a hard pill to swallow, I think, for some folks, so. Hopefully this is the loop closed, but we'll see.
And as I've communicated to the residents also, that, these types of things, while not included in the Ridge Pike Improvement Project, these types of projects can be considered with future intergovernmental cooperation, and those things take a lot of time. I'm not saying it's impossible, but this would mean further coordination with both PECO and PennDOT with an idea that maybe in time we can get something. I just don't believe it's feasible as part of the Ridge Pike process.
Would those property owners ever go through substantial redevelopment? Where they would potentially need to make the improvements at that point in the future too?
Would you look at our efforts to try to get PennDOT to do that cleanup in Cunnytown? They're not going to shovel those sidewalks. They're just not.
And the township doesn't maintain any other public sidewalks, do they?
Just like around our building?
Like public sidewalks that are owned by PennDOT? So that's not something that I would be recommending that we start doing either.
Our Public Works has a lot of work when it snows.
Yep. And this is our building and ground.
More sidewalks.
All right, anything under engineering for tonight?
Not tonight, thank you.
I get the same answer every month now.
Things are slow, there's no construction going on. One job, the Andres track. Oh, there's a little development on North Road, they're doing a couple houses and some sidewalks, but besides that.
North Lane?
Yeah?
North Lane?
North Lane, yeah.
Okay. Subdivision and land development, we have no actions.
Yep, one action.
Where is it?
Letter D, extension granted to July 15th, 2025 for 1508 Sandy Hill Road.
I believe that's mine, that's my side of it.
That's Ameren.
Sandy Hill?
Yeah.
Riverview, Sandy Hill. The project that can't get developed.
You want Sandy Hill?
No, I don't, you can take it.
It's on top of a cliff, accessed by a
We got a
private
call
road.
from someone that's interested in it now.
But him thinking it was his?
They might be coming in, they might be coming in.
I don't think Sandy Hill's anywhere near you.
No, I feel like the
Interested
only
in it
ones
until you
that
find
are
out the details.
They appealed the
Yeah.
decision of the
It's you.
code of
You can arm wrestle.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's,
the township's favor.
that's Nick Whitney.
Is that right?
Nick Whitney, not
Just
Ameren.
really don't want to do sprinklers.
If it was gonna be between two people,
And they
I
don't
was
want to
one of
extend
them.
this to the water.
He's not ceding any land.
That's what took
They don't want to put 100,000 gallon
I thought it was somewhere
vats
else.
on each property either.
I was like,
It's,
we used to
yeah,
put a coal.
I've heard that proposal.
Is there not like a Sandy Hill?
it's not great.
Do you have anything under code enforcement tonight?
I only have one thing. Under direction of Matt, I talked to Keystone Municipal Services, Information Kids. They would like, instead of charging them the full fees, they would like to set up an escrow, and then they would charge them hourly for their inspections.
So
So
they'll
that,
waive the fee.
the bulk fee, but they'll charge them an hourly, it's $85 an hour that they charge for inspections, which will be a lot cheaper for them anyway, but it's hard to say how much until I know what they're going to spend on construction.
That's good, and we're going to waive our permit fee.
And that's the next thing. If you would waive your fees, then when they do come in to get something, I know what to charge them.
So are you looking for guidance from council tonight, if that's acceptable to you all?
We've done that before for nonprofits and like fire.
Good enough.
Thank you, Jim. We have the, where's the snow announcement here? Where does snow announcement come under? Is it under Public Works?
Yeah, Public Works.
Okay.
Matt jinxing us by not.
I was-
It's an
yeah, I
outright
was-
format.
Yeah, oh boy, here we go.
Impressive, Matt.
It's gonna be all me. I know, I was hoping I had a taste of spring last week, I was like, we don't need the snow.
Public Works. Who wants to read about the snow announcement?
I guess I will. Why you looking at
Because I already said why I don't like reading it.
me? I'll read it.
Not even for the last one of the season, just to bring us on home?
Just for everybody to hear me say pocket 8 times. All right, Kristen's going to take it.
If we ever have a resolution about one of our parks, we know who's gonna read it.
All right, our zoning hearings. Anyone in particular want to take those?
I'll take it, I haven't had one of those in a while.
Okay.
You have to say Vandalay.
So he just wants to say that.
Just bring a picture of George with you.
He's not allowed to smile when he says it. All right, Parks and Recreation, we have the upcoming events. I guess I'll read that one.
I'm not trying to avoid reading, by the way, I'm just gonna be on the phone next week, so.
That's
Trying to minimize it.
That's
I mean, it's-
right. Yeah, well, no, we shouldn't
yeah.
give you anything.
It's.
We won't be
Although I-
able to hear you. Thanks for reminding us.
Yeah.
Yes,
I just
good.
might think I was being lazy about reading, but,
No,
I
no,
mean, the phone's a little challenging to
Yeah.
chime in and do readings.
Okay, and the 25th birthday announcement, and I guess that kind of goes with upcoming events, so I'll just take both of these. Okay, next we have the pool pump room bid.
Okay, so those details were forwarded to council late last week. If you remember, as a follow-up from last month, council authorized us to re-advertise the electrical portion of the bid. We got bids for 3 of the 4, general, mechanical, and plumbing. We did not receive anything for electrical. In the meantime, we rebid and we got the bid results last Thursday. We compiled them. I updated the spreadsheet that I had circulated to council with those details so you can see what that looks like total, where the bids came in, and what this means in the grand scheme of things for the project. Yes, it means the project is still over budget as of what we budgeted for the 2025 budget. We budgeted 2.5 million, and it's coming in at just under 3.1 million. Silver lining, it's still less than what we were projecting in Kellen's great financial analysis that he provided a month ago. So it's well within that number that we were using for that budgeted amount, for that expected overage, and we're still confident that we would be able to absorb this cost and move forward with the project and open it up to council if you have any questions or would like further clarification at this point. I just wanted to say thank you to Phil and Rick for taking the lead on these two things, or on this project, and really appreciate their time and dedication to it, and having Phil and his crew open up the community center for you so you can see some show and tell. Seeing it in person really does put it into perspective that it is something that needs to be done. I think it would be, it wouldn't be prudent for council to delay this project much longer. I'm not confident that we would be able to get a quote, a bid that would be cheaper than what we have right now, and it is a worthwhile investment, which will prolong the pool for another estimated 25 to 30 years.
Okay.
I also think it's, I don't know what happened, what was said on your tour, but I think it's significant that the ventilation problem is affecting Rick's garage
Yes.
too.
Did you go up into the storage room?
No, I didn't do that part,
Yep.
but,
Yep.
yeah.
A lot of reasons to do it.
Yeah.
I guess it's cheaper than not doing it. Well, because. how
Well,
much-
not doing it would come at a cost too, right? You
Oh,
can't just
yeah.
decide.
You can't just
You
leave
can't
it.
just leave it empty.
Yeah,
And I would argue that it would end up being more expensive.
Right.
With the alternative.
yeah.
Right.
Any alternative use would have to remove the pool and then do construction, so that's going to be more than 3.1 million. So, is there a sense that we should accept these bids and move forward? Yes, Nick and Nancy all nodding yes,
Yeah.
heads.
Yeah.
So then we'll work with the solicitor's office to put together a,
Notice of intent to award.
Yep. then they'll have to go through the process of making sure they meet our responsible contractor ordinance.
Okay.
We'll have that ready for council consideration next Monday. Thank you.
So at the regular meeting, we will announce that we're putting out to bid.
No, that you will be intent to award the lowest qualified bidders.
Intent to award.
Yep. We'll have that language ready
Thank
for
you.
you. Yep.
And is that something that a council member reads or that?
It can be, either Mike or a council person can read it. It's going to be a pretty short motion.
Okay. How about where do y'all take it, Mr. Solicitor? Thank you. I guess is it going to be Mike?
Yep.
Next, under this topic, we have the JFK Park grant resolution.
So this is, we're going to be asking council to be passing a resolution in support of a grant for our improvements to JFK Park. And I don't know if, Phil, if you have any other information you'd like to share?
Sure. Last year, we applied for what was called a GTRP grant from DCED for JFK, and we got $75,000 for that. So what we'd like to do this year is apply for a C2P2 grant from DCNR, a lot of state jargon and letters, and take that $75,000 and put it towards our match. It's about a $500,000 project to redo JFK Park. Just to refresh your memories, it's a new playground, new parking lot, add a soccer field, some drainage, benches, trees, things like that. It needs it. So our grant writer thinks we can have a strong case for that. So we'd have to do another ordinance. They'll announce this grant by the end of the year, which gives us a good chance for budgeting that we could get started and do it next year. So that's why we need another ordinance. It's a whole nother grant.
Resolution.
Resolution, yeah. Sorry.
Panic that we're doing an ordinance.
I'm sorry, so, but how much is the grant and what would the township be matching for that?
We're going to ask for $250,000 from the state, but the 75 we got comes off of our 250 that we would put into it. So we're trying to parlay our money to make it, the less. We also had some private donations for this. They're small, but there's a couple companies that gave us money as part of the grant application. So it should make it less expensive for us in the long run, and it makes the grant more attractive because there's more partners.
Which is unique, because typically in grants, you can't use state money to offset state money. But in this case, our grant writer is saying that these two grants work nicely together, and we can actually use that as part of our local match. Kind of unique.
I've asked her that twice.
Yes.
Matt's asked me, and she said yes, so.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll have a resolution ready to read
Yes.
for that one. And I guess you want that one. Oh, yes, your neighborhood.
That's my park.
Maybe. You can walk to it.
Is that, is that in sort of, as we look forward, is that in the capital plan? Would that expense be in our capital plan for 2026 or 2027? I mean,
It is, we put $300,000 in capital for 2026.
Okay,
And that was mainly the playground, but that would be used towards,
so we've already kind of set aside those dollars. That's great. Thank you.
Sort of.
shown on there, but.
Capital fund is not a funding document. Your capital plan is not a funding document. The budget is the funding document. And so while we have it teed up for 2026, that will be a part of the 2026 budget discussions.
Understood.
Yep.
I just meant, had we considered
Yes.
that? So at least it's sort of like sitting there for conversation.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that, Matt.
And next up, we have some materials here and a discussion on our youth groups, sports groups.
I felt like the best way to explain our relationship with them, and he hit me, was a flow chart. So I did a flow chart. So I did it for both, how they get their funding from us and how they submit their paperwork. I also gave you examples of the paperwork they give us and what we give them. I'll be honest, I'm glad Kristen brought this up because some of this paperwork was really old. It was really old, so thank you. We added some things in there about no smoking. We added something about no vaping. We put the form online so they can autofill it. So it's much more modern now. That's why it took me a couple months. But essentially, they submit us the paperwork, they sign the documents, we review them, and then we issue them the permits. Now, if there's an issue, which there does, I mean, they're people, they're volunteers, they're children, things come up, we can bring it up with the Parks Board. Rick and I have met with them. I just met last week about some issues at the middle school with the group. Our goal is to make sure the children have something to do, and the adults recognize they're volunteers, but they have to follow the guidelines. The best example I can use is that one of the groups didn't want to do background checks many years ago, before the state made them do background checks. So the township didn't fund them and threatened to take their permits away till they got on board with that. So we have leverage and we have used it in the past. So that's how they get their permits to be out in the parks and in the schools. For their funding, they submit their paperwork, the Parks Board reviews it. We're actually meeting with some of them in March. Then once that's done, we send it to Kellen to look at, just to get another set of eyes, and then they get their checks. The Parks Board meet with them about 20 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes, and ask them different questions. And it's actually in the Parks Board's ordinance for them to do that. It's part of their jobs. And that's how we have some checks and balances with the groups. Again, I'm not saying they always follow the rules, but when they do, I think the first step is always to meet with them, explain to them, what we're hearing and what we're seeing, and we go from there. And then it escalates if need be. But
Okay. That final item, the Youth Sports Code of Conduct, has that been updated too?
no, there's a good history with that. That was a council thing back about 20 years ago. There was an incident, and a councilman felt that people should act appropriately and respectfully. So we did that. We met, a councilman met, a Parks Board member, a community policing officer a couple times, and came up with the wording of 3 items, and we put it on signs, which are out in the park. Here it is, if you need it. I had sent it out earlier, I don't know if it was in your
Aaron,
I had,
to your right.
I had just a couple of things.
Sure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, fire away.
For this and updating.
Yeah.
One, under 11, where we talk about non-discrimination,
Right,
can we add sexual orientation?
absolutely.
And can we make sure that that matches whatever is in our non-discrimination ordinance, in case there's anything else we've left out?
Yep.
I mean, I eyeballed it quickly, but just to be sure.
Yep, we'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Also, should we say somewhere in here, because I know there have been issues at East Plymouth Valley Park, where the football teams tear up the baseball field, when baseball players are on the football field, should we say you're only to use the field associated with your sport? Just so the other fields are kept fresh off-season, so that when the next team comes back on, they're not destroyed.
I get that, but I don't know that that's practical, because those sports need those areas to practice.
They're lit. Those
They're
fields are
lit.
Yeah.
Football, it gets
Yeah.
dark at 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
There's what, like 4 or 5 different Spartan teams, because they're
Right.
separated
Correct.
by their class, they all need to practice at the same time.
Are they
And that's
using
how they end up
cleats on
falling.
the baseball turf?
Well, that's one issue. They do use cleats. We've talked to them about moving around. I mean, I know that's an issue, but the reality of it is we only have so much parkland, and we just don't have the luxury of letting teams, having fields sit there.
Is there a different kind, well, then you're asking parents to buy more equipment, but can they practice, I'm sorry, I don't.
That's okay, fire away.
Can they practice without cleats?
And we could certainly ask them to practice in
I mean, they can
sneakers.
wear cleats during their games,
Yeah,
but no cleats on the baseball field.
we'll bring that up with the Parks Board.
I mean, I don't want to create a situation that's sort of unmanageable, but I'm also thinking Rick, in terms of your staff, you're trying to keep the baseball fields fresh for baseball season, meanwhile they're being torn apart by the football teams,
Well, and
And I have a question, who is paying then when the fields get so ripped up that they need to be resodded?
Well, Rick just did it in 2023. Every so often he does it.
So we have a turf maintenance program, so we do aerate and overseed every fall. This fall, was bone dry, so, it really didn't, we actually did it a week in September where we did get some rain. The problem with East Meadow Valley Park is there's no irrigation, so, we're kind of limited on what, Mother Nature's, so it's hard over there, but we do have a turf maintenance program where we do aerate, we overseed, we, herbicides, pesticides, so we try, but, it doesn't make much sense to really sod that field because you can't guarantee that you're going to be able to keep it watered, and so, we try.
I mean, if you say it's not a problem, then I don't want to create a
I
problem
don't,
where there is none.
I don't think it's not a problem, but one thing to remember is football uses the fields to practice, but as Nick said, they use the football field for baseball in the spring. So sometimes it gets lost in translation that hey, it's a give and take. And we wish we had fields that could sit and just wait for children to come and play. But the park's not that big. It's the same size that it was in 1974, maybe just a touch bigger. It's not a baseball complex. It's not a football complex. It's a park first. So that's where, they have to share, whether they like it or not. But there's also a lot of sports sometimes now that spill over into other seasons. Used to be baseball was just in the spring, but that doesn't seem to be the way anymore. So, we can always work with them, with their leadership, and I think they can at least have the courtesy to move around. Maybe not wearing cleats is one I think that's probably a fair answer. We're lucky to have the parks. They have to take care of them, I think, and if they don't have to wear cleats, I think that's a good answer, at least one good answer. There's nowhere else for them to go, because we've been over and over it. There just isn't. We're finding that issue with soccer, because we're redoing the soccer field at the community center, and it's just been a battle trying to find somewhere for those teams to practice this fall. And I don't have a resolution for that yet either, so.
There's no high school or middle school field that they can use?
Not that's lit. See, that's the thing. In the fall, it gets darker, in each week, and they like to practice till 9 or 10. And we've asked the school district, so hopefully that will be the answer, maybe the middle school. So, but it's hard to find places that are lit. All our parks back up to people's homes. Like, we can't put lights at JFK Park. It's, we're at Caldwell. So we have to use what we have as efficiently as
Communities,
possible.
Plymouth Valley, we have a time when the lights have to go out.
Right, exactly. So.
Is it possible that instead of asking them not to wear cleats, because as somebody who played football, that seems a little
Well, for practice.
Yeah, but it's for practice.
Dangerous.
Yeah, but when the kids practice on the football field for baseball, they're not wearing cleats, and they wear cleats for baseball.
Yeah, it's just the leverage you need to.
I totally get it, but it's also like
To practice like a game, you would need cleats. But is another option could be, because when playing football, fields tend to get torn up especially bad, like directly after a rain. It's softer. I don't know if there's a way that. I don't know if it rains too much for this to be a possibility, but to say okay, you can't, maybe not using cleats those days after it rains or something like that, more targeted. I don't know if that's a possibility.
That's possible.
I don't know. You guys closed the football field at some point. There was something around it. Was it because it was too
COVID.
dry?
Well, so recently, because
It was definitely more recently. It wasn't COVID.
So when football didn't play, I don't know if it was 2020 or 2021, we renovated that whole field and we had it shut down. But football does put up their own rope system around the field the day or so before the weekend, I guess to keep the kids off of it and just keep, I guess so the parents can't get close once the game starts. So that may have been what you saw.
Yeah, you saw that. That happens every year.
Yeah.
So they rope it off. It's essentially keeps the parents from.
But they do it a few days ahead of time.
Oh, gotcha.
And leaving the referees alone, and yeah, they rope it
I
off.
can see why that's necessary. I wasn't.
The only other comment I had is, I think it's important that we're crystal clear about what our expectations are, but should we also say what the consequences are if you're in violation? Like if you're leaving trash piled up everywhere, if they're doing something that doesn't take care of the facility. I mean, if we have issues, should we say with the
We'll put
fountain?
that on the front of the permit so they see it when they sign.
Oh, yeah. What about this number 10 on the permit? It refers to an ordinance. Is there any way that we can just like pick the things out from the ordinance so that it's clear and they don't have to like go look up this ordinance to know what the, because I can't see anyone actually doing that.
No, nobody looks at the, that's true. No offense, but we could certainly spell it out to them.
Yes, that too. What about too, the like renovations though, because like that's one of the things that Plymouth Little League, and now I feel like this is part of what's coming up, is now we have to do the construction because it's township property, right? So some of the argument has been, what is our responsibility versus what is the township responsibility?
As far as like roping off the field, as far as leaving the fields unusable? Or?
No, I mean like more like construction and when some capital project needs to be updated in the park.
Like the shed and the softball dugout.
Right.
So we do, I mean, we do have a 5-year capital plan. I know Matt was talking about maybe redoing that, but, you know, we have a 5-year capital plan for everything, not just East Plymouth Valley Park. So, you know, we try to do something in each park every year or a couple things in each park every year. So I guess it would have to be something like if it was a dangerous situation, then maybe that would get, you know, bumped up on the list. But we do try to, like the dugouts have been in the capital plan for 3 years. The pool pump room, we started that in 2019. Like we do have a 5-year capital plan that lists projects, but we don't do everything. We don't spend $1 million at East Plymouth Valley. We try to spend a little bit at each park.
I guess too, then this is really, I'm thinking this, then can we do the reverse and say, these are the things that are your responsibility? Like if they have to, like doesn't the baseball have to add dirt when they need it?
And they do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so-
could we define what their responsibilities are like that?
Sure. Yeah, they've always done the infield mix, line the fields. We do the mowing, we do the turf maintenance. They used to do it with like volunteers. A bunch of members would pick a Saturday and a Sunday and go over. Now they tend to hire out a landscape firm to do the fields, but they've always done that, even with volunteers from their group. But yeah, we can spell that out.
I like that idea. I like being clear about, here's the stuff the township does, here's the stuff you do, and then if it's anything else, you have to coordinate with us. Right? Because you can't possibly spell out everything. But for example,
right.
would we want them painting the snack shack without asking us?
No, but they have, Lynn, you're absolutely right. Well, let me suggest this, since EPV is the center of our conversation, why don't we, like we did when we had the Youth Sports Code of Conduct, let's get a member of council, a member of the Parks Board, the presidents of the group, Rick and either Sean and I, and we sit down one night and go over these things.
Okay.
And then at the end of that meeting, we have that list. Because then they have some input, and, I can give you a date and one of you can decide to come, but if we give them a chance to tell us what their concerns are, it makes sense to get these in writing because the presidents change.
Yes.
And their agendas change.
Yes.
So some people are really interested in certain things, and other people come along and they're excited about something completely different. So at least if we have it in writing, it's only going to make it easier if we do what you're saying, Kristen. But I do believe having them at the table so they realize how seriously we're taking.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's one extra meeting, we'll make it quick. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I like it.
So,
I think having a committee with the council member and.
yeah, Parks Board, get all the
Parks Board and the
stakeholders.
people, the residents with stakeholders.
Yeah, the leadership.
Yeah, spelling it out helps everybody. It's not like
Right.
it's just for us, but I think
Right.
it protects everybody's interests and gives everybody a clear line of sight to like what's yours, what's ours, anything that's in the middle, we'll talk it out.
Right, and then we can refer to that document 5 years from now when they forgot about it.
Yes.
So,
Or
yeah.
when it's like the 5th president.
Right, right.
Right.
I'll set that up.
Okay, which council member wants to volunteer for that?
I guess I'll volunteer.
Was I looking at
I'm
you?
already enmeshed in this situation.
I know.
I do have one more question though. So I'm gonna talk about baseball because I really only know how it works with baseball. But does all the same things apply to these travel teams? Like, do they have permits?
Well, the only travel teams that should be at East Plymouth Valley would be All-Star, who we rent it to.
Yeah, that's not the only team that's there.
Well, then I need to know about that, because then, and look, it's funny to me how they have their friends who they let practice there, and they don't. But remember, there are travel teams with Little League. There's
Oh,
the
yeah,
Generals
yeah,
and
yeah.
Rampage.
Yeah, yeah.
Any private teams, that's a business. Like we rent to All-Star Baseball, and they pay us a fee to be there. So if you hear of those, I'll look into it.
Okay.
That's a big issue.
Teams using our parks without permits and fees?
Well, one of the ones I'm talking about are the Generals.
The Generals are okay. They're part of Plymouth Little League.
Yeah, but if you ask them, they're not part of Plymouth Little League. And if you ask Plymouth Little League, they're not even an organization at all.
The Generals?
Yeah. They have no president, they have no leadership. I don't know, do they?
Yeah, they have their own,
That was
we've
my
got their
concern.
own.
I'm like, I hope they have one.
I can get all that clarified. It was my understanding that the Generals were like a travel soccer team, but travel baseball, and the same with the Rampage. It's
We're
just,
gonna need to sign off on.
yeah, no, Plymouth, it's under the Plymouth Little League umbrella. If you're saying that's not the case, I'll
Well, yeah, if you ask Plymouth Little League, they say it's not the case, and then
because
what
they're,
happens when you go to the Generals and you get an issue with them not following a rule that's like Plymouth Little League set?
Right,
They say,
right.
well, we're a separate organization.
Right.
But apparently no one's, like, this started, like, a random dad started this team,
Right.
and it's just been handed down to, like, the next
Right.
person, and there's no actual person, there's no president, there's no bylaws,
we'd be-
there's nothing.
I was always under the impression that the Generals were part of Little League. That's what they told me.
Background checks?
Well, I know they do have to, like, all the kids have to play in Plymouth Little League.
Right.
So if they're people from Plymouth Little League and the coaches are from Plymouth Little League, then they're doing the same background checks as
Right.
Plymouth Little League.
Yeah,
I'm more concerned about, like, them seeing themselves as an entirely separate organization, because also the way this runs, it's really about who you know.
right.
And,
Travel sports are that way, Kristen.
no, I know that,
Yeah.
but that doesn't make it right.
I know. Well, I think we put that on the agenda. I mean, it kind of rubs me the wrong way, because every time you talk to them, they're running out of fields, but then they start in these travel programs
that's-
to eat up the field time.
Exactly,
So that-
exactly my point, is they're always saying, we don't have field space, we don't
Right.
have field space, but
Right.
then they're constantly using the
When
fields.
Rick Harper was playing on the fields back in the 70s. same amount of people. I tell them. So, yeah, I'm telling you, there's the same amount of kids. There's just more baseball now.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same with the Rampage.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Generals have their own insurance, and you usually get that.
That was my biggest concern,
Yeah,
I'm like,
so-
I don't think we would let that happen.
No, they shouldn't be, and that's a
They should
big
be
concern.
signing these,
Yeah, they should, well, their president is responsible for the Generals, and we'll make that clear at the meeting.
That's another good reason to pull them to the table.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And you tell them exactly what you just said, so we make sure we get to the bottom of that. Because my bigger concern is there'll be businesses down there, these private elite teams, because of their fields. So I go down and look sometimes and make sure people have P's on their uniform, because that's what we don't want, is somebody charging thousands of dollars with nowhere for these teams to practice, and they just show up down there because they know somebody, so, you know. That's been a problem with the other sports too, so, you know. Put that on the agenda, Kristen.
I'm super excited.
Okay, thank you.
I'm done. That's all I got for now.
That's all you have?
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
I anticipated the question. Okay, so then we move on to miscellaneous. And we have our citizen board vacancy announcements. Look at that, only 2 citizen boards.
We're getting there.
It is, it's great. Anyone in particular want to read that one? Okay, I'll take it. The Communication Advisory Board appointments, the action on that, Kristen, I think, because
Oh, yeah, because Lynn will be on the phone,
I'm on the
yes.
phone, so you want to do
That's
that, Kristen? Thank you. And our Civil Service Commission appointment. You want to take that?
I mean, I can take it.
You want to do both? Okay, thanks. And we've come full circle on the Cunnytown update. So that comes to me.
Did we have a copy of an update?
I guess it'll be in our.
Not yet.
Oh, okay,
packet,
okay.
Yep,
but-
just got a response from our traffic engineer with some updates with the bid package for the traffic signal and with some numbers also. He's looking just to make sure those numbers are right before we circulate them. And I wanted to schedule that town hall on traffic control devices also. I wanted to include that in this update on Cunnytown.
That'd be great.
Yes.
So to get that done by this Wednesday, so we can add that to the update, so we can start advertising that.
Okay, so there'll also be the town hall announcement.
Yes,
Should we check, oh, sorry.
the week of April 28th.
You'll answer the doodle poll.
You sent
Yeah,
out the
there was a
poll, right?
doodle
Yeah.
poll,
Yeah,
right?
Linda should have sent that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all got it and
All right, great.
responded.
I was gonna
Very
say,
good.
I think it looked like most people had responded.
Good.
I was gonna
And then,
ask,
do we have any update at all on the guardrail?
The update is there is no update. I asked specifically of the traffic engineer, he's just like, I haven't heard anything, which tells me PennDOT's not interested in it.
What? What do you mean they're not interested?
Can't we get an up or down?
I will ask again.
Or can they just, if they're not interested, can they just tell us that they are not approving it, that they have declined it, or whatever the words are?
I will ask again.
But is that what that means? That they're not interested means they don't want to do it? Or does that mean it's not their priority?
Not their priority.
Oh, okay.
Which means it could take forever. If it ever happens at all. Just want to be clear on where we're at.
I was gonna ask about the, I think we were gonna check in again with, was it Norristown? Or was it somewhere else?
No, you mean about the speed
Norton.
slots?
About the speed
Yeah.
slots, since it's towards the end of the snow season, just check in again and see if they have any different information on
The first time was Norristown.
Was it Norristown or was it North?
On DeKalb.
Yeah,
Norristown,
DeKalb.
Norristown, DeKalb, yeah.
Yeah, just check in again and
Can
see,
do that.
yeah. See if they have a different answer.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's not been more snow
I
that they could
know.
react to, because we were
Right.
kind of hoping a few snowstorms.
That's
we'd
why
get-
Matt tried to do the thing with the snow announcement to get
Ah,
everything, so we get some
snow,
snow.
just for the.
Can we
see
go
how it
pour
is.
some water on it?
Tonight, it's going down below freezing, cold blue night. And then bring a water bottle. Okay, is there anything else from anybody that y'all would like to bring up? All right,
First, everybody.
thank you, everybody. Meeting is adjourned.